Hello, everybody. Welcome to my introductory slideshow. Welcome to fall. Ooh, everything you need to know to get started and succeed in GIST and Intro to GIS. So a quick rundown of what we're going to do in this presentation. This will be short. I just wanted to get you guys going with a little familiarizing yourself with who I am and a little bit how I'm going to run the classes. So we will get started. This is me. I'm also right here, obviously. That's a picture of me in Iceland. I've been teaching at GIS at CWC for over 3 years now, and I live in Long Beach, California. I actually lived in Lander for a summer while I taught GIS and lived at Sinks Canyon Center, so I have a pretty good idea of what life is like out there, at least in the summertime. I used to work as a GIS field technician in the public utilities industry, but my contract ended a few months ago and COVID happened, and now we're teaching full-time, or teaching is my primary job right now. And lastly, I have a PhD in geography, which qualifies me to teach. I also have certificates in GIS, of course, as well as professional experience. And also, last but not least, I do have a 1-year-old son running around, so I do have to kind of monitor my computer closely, or else he'll come up and try and tap on the keyboard. So let's get started. The reason I'm doing both of these together is because most of you are actually in both classes. So I didn't think there was any use of me recording a welcome individually for each class when I can basically cover the same material for both classes. And also because I'm structuring the classes overall in the same way, so you'll get the point as we go through. So in general, we have GIST, Geographic Information Science and Technology, and Intro to GIS. So the GIST class is more of a broad level look at the science and technology aspect of geographic information science, whereas Intro to GIS actually goes more into detail with the software and actually doing GIS. Both classes have a lab component, and that is actually, the lab component is how I'm sort of structuring the rhythm of the class. So for GIST, there is a Zoom lab that will start on Mondays on September 21st, and it runs from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. your time. And let's see how I should do this. So Intro to GIS then also has a Zoom lab on Wednesdays, which will start September 23rd, and also run 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Homework for each class will be due the morning of the lab. This is because basically when I start the lab at 10 a.m., I see that as we're starting the new week. So the homework should be due before we start the new week of assignments, which will sort of officially begin when the lab starts, if that makes sense. Also due on the day of the lab is a check-in, and I'll go into a little detail later of what I mean, what a check-in is and why I have it, but it will be due by midnight that day. Every day prior to the lab, so Sundays for GIST and Tuesdays for GIS, I will send out an announcement that will include a link to the Zoom meeting session, a link to the Google form where you'll do your check-in, and a little bit of a review of what we're going to get into the following day and what will actually be due for homework. For GIST, there will be a midterm, a final, and a project, and Intro to GIS will just have a final exam and a project. I don't want you to get stressed out or worry about these. These are going to be fun and easy, and you'll have plenty of time to complete them. So it's not like something you have to study for and will be timed and have to have a lot of pressure. I want it to just be a culmination of everything you're learning or have learned in the class. So important things to note, I kind of already went over that each class has a lab component. I wanted to go a little more detail about what this lab means and does. So typically, if you were taking this class in a normal semester, a non-pandemic semester, you would have a lab component that you would have to attend with a tutor present. So you'd go, you can ask questions, you can have the computer lab all to yourself or just to your classmates. But we can't do that, obviously. So, but I also, having taught online classes for a long time, I feel it's best to not require that students be present for a 3-hour lab session. It just doesn't make sense to be here online for 3 hours with me. That's meaningless. You guys can I'm sure can work smarter and better than that. However, I want to make myself available, and as part of like my promise to you as an instructor, I will be on those lab sessions for 3 hours. So you can look up the link and come on, and I'll be there, and we can discuss what's going on. We can talk about stuff you're reading, if you understand things, or if you just want to see how the wildfires are going in California, you know. I will be there. And if you, okay, so I'm just looking at my list here. So this all ties into the check-in. So while I'm not requiring you to be at the lab, I do require you to check in. And how I'm doing the check-in is sending out a Google form. So if you attend the Zoom session, even just for a few minutes to check in, that counts. That counts as your check-in. But for whatever reason you don't want to do the Zoom session, you can't, it's not necessary. I still need you to fill out the Google form, and it has to be done that day by midnight. Now, the check-in will be pretty easy. It's just going to be a few questions about asking your progress and how you feel the material is going and whatnot. But this is so that I can actually feel like I'm getting a good check-in with you. That's why I call it that, for how the material is going for you. Because some students struggle, some students don't. This class is a 12-week semester. It's pretty fast and intense. So we cover a lot of material, and you have to really kind of be persistent and on it. And the check-in is going to enable me to see how you're doing, but also be a bit accountable to me and to the class as well, because it's easy to let things slide. It really is, and I don't want that to happen. So on that note, let's talk about homework and due dates. Like I had said in the previous slide, homework is due by 10 a.m. on the day of the lab. If you turn it in 24 hours after that, you get 10% off of your earned points. And then any time after that 24 hours, it's a 20% reduction. So, you know, you can have a little buffer there that doesn't give you too many points off if you needed to turn something in a little late. But anytime after that, you have until the end of the semester, you can turn it in 24 hours plus all the way to the last day, and you'll still get 20% reduction in points. I feel this is a fair system. I've tried different kinds of late systems, and I think this one works the best. That also applies to the check-in assignment as well. Just to give you some idea, we'll have different kinds of assignments. Primarily, we will be focusing on the labs and lab questions, which are structured within the chapter of the textbooks. We'll also be doing what are called Esri modules. I will explain to you a bit more about what Esri is exactly in our introductory lecture. The check-ins counts as an assignment, and of course the midterm and final on the project. And if you go on to the course page, I'll give you a breakdown of what, how much each assignment is worth, because I do weight the grades. Okay, so the check-in, I kind of already went over why I did it. I just wanted a system for accountability for you and for me to make sure everybody is checking in and on the same page, and that if you're feeling like you're falling behind, we have a system for catching that quickly. Here's the class calendars. These again are going to be on the Canvas page for the class. You can see that there's 12 weeks for each one. We're going through a chapter or more each week for each class. So, you know, again, you want to stay on the work, on top of the work. You can see on the far right column for each, I have what is due for that lab day. So as you can see, our first day of class, there's no homework due, obviously, but you do have a check-in. So the check-in is the first assignment you have due, and it will be due by midnight that day. Even though it says 10 a.m. at the top of that column, that applies to the lab work, of course, but not the check-in, as we explained. And these assignment dates, of course, as you're probably familiar with how Canvas works, will show up on your calendar. And last but not least, you should have received the email a few days ago telling you, suggesting strongly that you get your textbooks and software as soon as possible. GIST has Introduction to Geospatial Technology, this right here. Pay attention to the edition. 5th edition is what we want. We don't want anything older than that. They came out with new textbooks for both of these classes. So this is the GIS book textbook, 3rd edition. Brand new textbooks, because the software has undergone radical changes in the last couple of years. But Esri, the company who makes the software we use, is really transitioning and pushing us to move to this new software. It operates the same, but it's a different platform entirely. So we do have to do a little bit more careful work with it. In fact, I'm still sort of learning it as well to a degree. But again, I'll touch on that in the actual lecture we do. So on that note, both classes require ArcGIS Pro, which is our newest software system, and also a CWC ArcGIS Online account. Instead of me trying to explain to you what this online account is, if you don't already have one, I want to just initiate the process of getting your software and your account set up, because it's all kind of a rolling process that requires a few different steps. So the first thing you do is initiate it with me or with Jackie, where we'll get you a key code, and then you can get the account set up, and you get your install your software, and then we set you up on CWC, ArcGIS Online, and it all just takes a few steps, and it's a little persnickety, but it's required and it's necessary, and I highly recommend you do it before classes start. If not, then within that first week, because without it, you're just going to start falling behind. Okay, so that is it for now. Thank you for watching this. Have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Everything I covered is on the Canvas page for the class in even greater detail. And don't forget that the day before the class starts, I'll send out an email with a reminder that the class is starting and with a link to the check-in page on Google Forms. So I hope everyone is doing well at the start of their semester, and we'll see you guys online soon.